Okay. All righty. This is the February 27th flag display review policy committee. And I will call the meeting to order at 2:03. We'll go ahead and jump right in. We do have a quorum. And I'll go ahead and do a roll call. If you'll please state where you're zooming in from, that'd be great. Commissioner Ballard,
Battle Creek here.
Commissioner Simmons,
Here, I'm in Battle Creek.
thank you. Commissioner Lance
Here, Battle Creek.
and Vice Mayor Sophia.
Here, Battle Creek.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda looks like we need to elect a chairperson. Does anybody want to nominate somebody or?
I nominate Vice Mayor Sophia.
Support.
Okay, we had a nomination and a support. Do we want to vote on that?
First, check and see if there's any other nominees.
Oh, okay. Do we have any other nominations? All right. Seeing none, then we just do a vote
Yes.
or
Aye.
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 Aye. All right.
I apologize. I'm lagging behind.
Let's see. All right, I'm trying to get to the agenda.
Carrie, no
Um,
problem. The next item is just the discussion on the flag policy.
Okay,
Just so
thank
you
you.
know,
If-
and then
if you
right
can-
after that would be any future meetings that would be needed or required by the committee.
Okay, I appreciate that because I don't have the agenda in front of me, so I
That's okay.
appreciate your help. So let's then just jump right into discussion. Commissioner Simmons, Commissioner Ballard, did you want to jump in, Commissioner Ballard?
I've got the commission paperwork that was sent from Jill Steele or from city attorney, excuse me. And I'm not in any disagreement with what she has written here, so I'll leave mine at that.
Okay.
I think all of you have that as well.
Commissioner Simmons or Commissioner Lance?
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and speak to it. And I do appreciate all of the background from the city attorney on this. My main concern about this all along has been the potential for contentious issues to arise, requests, and I've read and understood that the mechanism to have this flag or a flag to replace for a period of time our city flag is a commission led initiative. So someone from the commission would have to put that forward, get support from other commissioners and to get that passed. That being said, from what I understand, groups, entities that might want to have the flag displayed can certainly lobby commissioners to get the commissioner or get a commissioner or commissioners to go about do that. So really is kind of a de facto outside organization submitting something for commission consideration. It's not a formal, but just the way that it's structured. I asked actually where this last Pan-African flag originated from, and I guess someone from a local organization had approached the mayor and said, hey, we'd like to do this, and the mayor actually then ran with it. So it was a commission led, but again, from outside entity. my concern all along, and the two flags, and it's my understanding there have only been two flags that have flown over City Hall. That'd be the Pride flag and the Pan-African flag. I have no particular issue with them. What I guess I have an issue with is there potentially could be other entities that put their flag forward to a commissioner advance that might be even more contentious. Not that I'm saying the Pride flag or the Pan-African flag were contentious, but I know there was one individual who had submitted a flag for some sanctity of life. And there was a question on whether or not that was religious or if it was a moral thing, but that never made it to the commission. Maybe they didn't approach a commissioner, and maybe staff can clarify that for me. Maybe they didn't approach a commissioner directly to have a commissioner initiate that. From what I understand, that came through to city staff, and it was just kind of washed right there because of what they appeared to be a religious nature of it. So, I voted against Pan-African flag, and I probably would vote against any other one that came, whether I agree or disagree or was contentious or not even contentious, because I just don't like our process. So that's where I am with that. On first glance, I would kind of lean towards just rescinding the policy altogether. I mean, our flag policy prior, we didn't have one, served us well for over 160 years of the city's existence. We have the federal, the state, and our city flag flying over City Hall. That being said, there might not be commission support to scrap that altogether. So I'm interested in hearing some other thoughts. I've heard from now 3 different residents, one of which was a city employee. I think we had someone speak at a city commission meeting regarding this and suggested this. And then I had a resident reach out to me and suggested the same thing, that all 3 of them had kind of suggested that, hey, leave the federal, state, and city flag alone. And then maybe we have some other kind of on city property somewhere, some kind of commemorative flagpole that we can fly these for a short period of time and have some more formal mechanism for an entity to submit that. I'm open to looking at that. I'm really looking forward to hear what other folks have to say about how they'd like to see this go. And thank you.
I've got some research and some background information if at any time anybody, and a little bits from other municipalities, what their policy is, approach is. So if anyone thinks any of that would be helpful, I'd be happy to share that.
Well, I will go next. I guess by way of background, it takes 3 commissioners to approach the city, if I'm not mistaken, for a flag to be flown. Is that accurate?
Not exactly. So it takes 3 commissioners to put a resolution on, but the city manager, city staff can put resolutions on. And so it can happen one of the 2 ways. The idea, city staff is not going to put a resolution on without some sense that there is support, or in the instance of when I do it, that there's something in the law that requires that we have that in there. And so the commission, the meeting rules committee made the change to the ordinance, because at one point the ordinance stated that a city commissioner can request that the city manager or the city attorney put a resolution on, and they shall. And so that made for, it sometimes made for a lot of work where there really wasn't any indication that there was support for that resolution or ordinance. And so that was the genesis for requiring that if a commissioner wants something done, that they have to show some support from other commissioners. But city staff can put a resolution on at any time. So it might come from the city manager for instance, and she controls the agenda. So,
Okay, so if I understand you then correctly, then, so flag, if we're gonna fly a flag, it must pass through resolution, correct?
yes,
And so city staff can put that we vote on a flag at a resolution, but commissioners must have 3 in order to do that.
there must be 3. So one commissioner must have the support of 2 others.
So of the flags that have flown, have any city staff put the resolution on the agenda?
I
Yes,
think the ones that
pride
have
flag.
come from Rebecca. Mhm.
The pride flag was the case. And just to, as clarification, I think Commissioner Simmons said it. Yes, our organization reached out to both the mayor and I in regards to the Pan-African flag.
So I guess
So,
I certainly understand that the city has control over the agenda, but you know, when you come to a flag issue, it's coming for us, which is, I would say, is a political issue. And you know, we're up there taking some heat for various issues that arise. That would be one of my concerns. I know I voted against this flag policy when as it is written right now. Been probably 1.5 years since we did that vote, so I'd have to pull up my notes. I know this is our first meeting and stuff, so I would have to look at my notes of what my primary concerns are. I guess before we go about and even take up Commissioner Simmons' thoughts, has a flag ever flown over the city prior to us having a policy in place?
Not to my understanding. And if I could clarify the pride flag, that yes, the original discussion did come to me, and then I discussed it with commissioners as well at one-on-one, depending on the timing. So I just wanted to follow up on that. And it had been a request before, we just didn't have a mechanism. But no, not to my knowledge, there has not been another flag that has flown. Oh, wait, take
Rebecca.
that back. In Claude Evans
Yeah.
Park, there was an African flag that flew there for a very long time. I mean, it was up there permanently. And when we adopted the flag policy, then that was removed until such time as the commission would approve via resolution.
Okay. So I guess I like I said, I'd want to look at my notes from last time to see what concerns I had. But I do know that I did vote against the policy, but once the policy passed, I voted for flags since it seemed like it met the policy. And I guess I would say this: if we are, I mean, I know Commissioner Simmons stated that he would like to either amend or get rid of the policy in a whole. I guess my thought would be, I would like to see first, before I could support getting rid of the whole policy, I would like to see what you would remove first if the policy remained. What things would you want removed at the minimum? And I'm sure you're not ready to answer that right now. I just those are just something that I would like to see. You know, certainly as we go down this path, and I'm happy to share with you my concerns once I look at them.
Yeah, and I probably would have 1.5 years or wherever had I been on the commission would have joined you in voting no on that, because again, just think it has the potential, and we've already seen some members of the public, you know, come to the commission meeting and make it contentious. I know the night that we voted on the Pan-African flag, and I can see someone had mentioned something about some kind of Christian flag. Obviously, that would be overtly religious and would probably not qualify. But I can just see like the Sanctity of Life one or something of that coming back to us and causing a contentious issue when, you know, really we need to have our energy focused. So again, I would just say rescind the whole thing, but if there's not the support from the commission, I appreciate that. And so okay, what can we do to make it more workable? And one of the suggestions I already did say there was keep the federal, state, and local flag flying, and then have some other commemorative place for these type of flags to fly. Rebecca mentioned that one previously flew in Claude Evans Park. I don't think it has to be relegated to some location that is not going to be seen. I wouldn't have a problem. The suggestion from somebody on city staff was the pole not out front on Division Street, but between or have another pole between the city hall and the church. I like that suggestion. Again, I'm open to other suggestions, and then I guess I'm open to some more formal mechanism for entities to submit these, rather than just trying to bend the ear of a commissioner. If we're going to keep that, then have a more formal mechanism how an entity would submit this. And then, so let me understand correctly from city staff. Most resolutions require 3 commissioners to co-sponsor. But in the case of this, if one commissioner and someone from the city manager's office or city staff puts that forward, we can get that on with only 1 commissioners? Because Commissioner Lance did have that question, and I'm still not quite sure I understand the answer. So it can be staff-led or a hybrid of commission and staff.
City,
Did you want me to speak?
please, I'm sorry. I didn't know if that was me that froze or Commissioner Simmons froze.
Okay, so
Thank
as I mentioned in the ordinance, it states that the agenda is up to the city manager. And so, I think Rebecca's, the way that she goes about this is she's not going to put a resolution on for a flag display that is completely up to the commission to accept or reject, unless she feels like it fits the policy and she sees some support for it. She might get a suggestion from a staff member. Hey, what about this commemorative flag? And then contemplate it. I mean, she'd have to speak to how that works. But that's, the ordinance has been that way forever about any kind of resolution. So Rebecca always asks us senior staff what resolutions are coming ahead, and she's not going to let it go forward if she thinks it's going to be something that doesn't have support.
But she could, correct? I mean, she doesn't need input from the commission. If Rebecca says, I want to put up the Ukrainian flag, for instance, she doesn't need input from us. She doesn't even need staff. She could if she just felt like it, correct?
Well,
She could. I think just the natural process of her answering to the 9 city commissioners, that it's not likely she's going to do that unless she's got support. But yes.
No, I understand the politicalness of behind it. It probably is not a wise move just to throw stuff up there, getting some support. But I'm talking from the strict process, procedural standpoint, she could.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that's what Commissioner Simmons was trying to get clarified. So Rebecca and the city staff can put anything up they want, regardless. But if city commissioners want to do it, they need at least 3 of them to do that to get a resolution. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah, and the reasoning, as I said, for that is the amount of work that goes into putting something like that up, and that, the language was the city attorney or the city manager shall. And so it was a decision that not to have those resources, that staff effort put forward, unless there was, something beyond one commissioner's desires.
Okay. So you know I have a laundry list. And I mean, we've talked about some of these before, but I'd like to have more of a dialogue and include some of my fellow commissioners in on this conversation. So I did pull my remarks that I've made every time we've had one of these come up before us. And this might have been what I talked about when I voted against the flag ordinance to begin with. We start out by declaring that the city's flagpoles are not intended to serve as a forum for free expression of the public. What does this mean? So, and Jill, you have said that because it is city commission or city manager driven, that therefore it takes it out of the public realm. I would argue that, you know, especially if they come through a commissioner, I mean, it's not like commissioners are out looking for organizations that have a flag that they want to fly at City Hall. So this actually would, it is expression of the public so long as the public has the ear of someone at City Hall or on the commission. I mean, that's the way I see it. And I know that you've indicated that there are maybe some court cases that would have a different, or that might shed a little bit more light on that.
Yeah, I think there was a Supreme Court decision in June of 2022 that, I think really distills the situation well. And so if you'd like to hear a little bit from that, I'd be happy to do that. Okay, so this was the city, Shurtleff versus the city of Boston. And the city of Boston had, for many years, allowed third parties to fly a flag from the third pole. Of course, they had the United States flag, then they had the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on the other. Usually they had their own flag, the city of Boston, on the third pole. But they have for years allowed groups to hold ceremonies on the plaza. And so between 2005 and 2017, they had approved the raising of 50 unique flags for 284 ceremonies. Most of them were for other countries, but some were associated with groups or causes such as the Pride flag, a banner honoring emergency medical service workers and others. There was actually one for a bank, like a commercial bank that they flew. And so they had never turned anything down until they were requested to fly a Christian flag. And so they turned that down.
So now what is a Christian flag? I mean, I'm trying to understand. And so you say Christian, is it a denominational flag? Is it a religious organization? I mean, what do you mean by Christian flag?
Well, so what it says is Harold Shurtleff, the director of an organization called Camp Constitution, asked to hold an event on the plaza to celebrate the civic and social contributions of the Christian community. As part of that ceremony, he wished to raise what he described as the Christian flag. There's not a lot of other information other than that, but I think that wasn't really the deciding factor in what the court decided. So they denied that because they were concerned that it would violate the Establishment Clause. And so then that brings about the lawsuit. And so what this boils down to is, so it said the city didn't deny a single request to raise a flag until they did at that one point. So they had no policy is what it boils down to. So at that time, Boston admits it had no written policy limiting use of the flagpole based on the content of the flag. And So they, the question was, did they open the flagpole for citizens to express their own view? And so what would happen is sorry about that. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. So it says they would just make a request to basically a clerk. And what they looked at was really limited to the date. Is there somebody else that's doing something at this time? You know, kind of making sure that they had the date and time of when this was going to take place. Yeah, so it was a community bank flag. And so it says the most salient feature of this case is that Boston neither actively controlled these flag raisings nor shaped the messages that the flag sent. So they did maintain control over an event's date and time to avoid conflicts, and maintain control over the plaza's physical premises, presumably to avoid chaos. But the key issue is whether Boston shaped or controlled the flag's content and meaning. And their record is thin, that it had approved all requests other than this one flag. And so they brought a question, like, how is it really speech when you're flying a flag for a community bank? That seems to, you know, basically be supported. So they held in favor of Boston on several factors, but said, you know, the problem here is there was no policy, and they had no control over when these whether flags were being approved or rejected. It wasn't something that came to no, it doesn't have to come to the elected body, but that certainly, I mean, that's part of why we have that in our policy, is that it comes to the city commission to make that decision as to whether they want this to be, you know, a message that they want to show support for. And so what they said was Boston had actually created a limited public forum by allowing citizens to just come in, just go through a process with no policy, just making sure the date was clear. And so then when they opened up to a forum, a speech forum, then they can do the forum analysis. And so they determined that it violated, you know, it was discriminatory because they had let everyone accept a religious flag, and they had no policy to back up, you know, that they had ever done this before, not done this. Apparently there had never been a request for a religious flag to be flown. So that was the key, is that they had no policy. And so it can't be government speech if you don't have any kind of policy or procedure to say that it's a decision of the government.
But Jill, so the Supreme Court didn't do any analysis on whether the policy itself was constitutional.
There was no policy.
Right.
They talked about several other cases and said those are different because they had a policy.
Okay. And of those cases, if you recall, did the Supreme Court strike down those flag policies as unconstitutional?
So the others weren't exact. They were like, there was a license plate policy to be able to have personalized license plates. No, they did not strike it down. They said that they've got a policy it's government speech. They can do that. There's a clear policy that's set out. The other one was about monuments in a public park, and even where the monument was put forth and paid for by private individuals, but they had a policy for it. And so they determined that was government speech and it was acceptable.
I'm not so concerned about the license plates. Those are on individuals' vehicles. They're not, state. If we put, let's say, the Ukrainian flag on all state vehicles for the month, then I would probably have more issues with that. But
Well, but in this case, they were denying, they had a policy and not everybody's request for their vanity plate was approved. There were many of them that were rejected.
right, and I'm sure for various reasons, whether they're obscene or what have you.
And so it fit the policy. So,
But in terms of on point analysis, aside from the Boston case, there's been no case that you're aware of that has specifically addressed a municipality's flag policy.
oh, I would have to go back. I would have to go back through. I mean, this seminal case on this from the Supreme Court, they're, as I said, they decided with the city of Boston on several points, but the problem and why they rejected it was because they had no policy. It was just, it was indiscriminate. They could just accept or reject at their will. And because they had allowed the public to do this regularly, they opened it up and created a limited public forum, where what they've said in these other cases is it's government speech. You have not created a public forum because it's done pursuant to a policy.
Commissioner Lance, did you have any other follow-up questions?
No, I just wanted to know that I just wanted to follow up on that, on what that case was.
Okay.
So
And then-
it still doesn't sound like they addressed it. So, I mean, I get it, Joe. I understand what you're saying, but thank you.
So then that kind of leads me to my next concern is we talk about a commemorative flag, yet we don't define commemorative. I understand the term, but this guy that wanted to fly a Christian flag, is there an official Christian flag? I mean, and I don't know the answers to these questions. With regard to the pride flags, when I drive around my community, I see all kinds of flags representing that pride ideal. But is there one flag that is recognized as the official flag? And whether it's pride, it's Pan-African, whatever organization is coming to us wanting the city to recognize them and to fly their flag, that's, I think, part of my concern is that I don't see anywhere in our ordinance where it has to be something that is recognized on a kind of a national basis as representing that organization. I mean, you can get any flag you want for under $100. You just go online, you send them what you want, and they'll put it on a flag for you. And I'm not saying that somebody would do that, but I'm just wanting to make sure that whatever is flying is recognized.
If I could offer something here. So let's see. I'm trying to find the Oak Park. So Oak Park passed a policy that allows for the placement of flags that are in honor of causes recognized under presidential proclamation and that are for federal holiday, that are related to federal holidays. So it says examples, honor of causes recognized under the presidential proclamation. Examples include Women's History Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, National Hispanic Heritage Month. The policy also limits the flying of flags to the month of the observance and requires at least 30 days notice for a request. Requester must provide a flag that's 3 feet by 5 feet. Pride Month was recognized by President Obama in 2018. The policy still requires a vote of city council before a flag is raised, and they can still turn down a request. So that's kind of the different twist of how the city of Oak Park does it, which I think is fairly responsive to the kind of things that the Vice Mayor Sophia is asking. Let's see, City of Livonia, they actually have it in their ordinance. And flag of the state of Michigan, flag of Wayne, County of Wayne, flag of the City of Livonia, including any of their departmental flags, the flags of the United States Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, and Coast Guard, public safety flags, POW, MIA flags. And then it says the City of Livonia will not display any other flag. And it might seem a little odd, but this was actually just passed August of 2022. They will not display any other flag, including any flag based upon a request from a third party. Nothing contained herein is intended to abridge the right of citizens to carry other flags in public and or display flags on private property. City of Muskegon, so that they all fly the United States of America flag, state of Michigan, county of Muskegon, city of Muskegon, a sister cities of the city of Muskegon flag, and visiting dignitaries from the embassy and or consulate that are formally acknowledged by the mayor and or city commission are permissible and may be flown on city property. The flying of any other flag is not permissible. This includes flags from other countries, flags recognizing a cause, flags recognizing a festival, flags recognizing an ethnicity, etc. Grand Rapids flag policy. I certainly wouldn't advise this. So their policy is facilities management department enforces this, reviews this. Flag may be flown at half staff when a local citizen has passed away who has for a substantial period of time significantly contributed to or has been at the benefit of social, cultural, economic, or physical well-being of the city. City manager or designee shall determine if individuals meet the aforementioned criteria. Then it tells about the duration. And then it says, number 5 is any request to fly another flag on city-owned or leased property should be made to the city manager or designee. There's no policy there about when that will be granted or not. There's no limitations on it. That is an administrative policy. I certainly would not recommend that they have that. Either don't do it or set out a policy that says how that's going to be done. There are a number, I found a number of articles on school districts and municipalities that just have decided to fly the pride flag or whatever, but they did it without enacting any kind of a policy.
And that kind of gets to one of the thoughts that I had was instead of if we're going to continue with this, then allowing let's see, how did I phrase this? If we allow the commemorative flag, using whatever definition we choose, to be flown on a day during a period of time outlined in an official proclamation from the city. So rather than relying on a presidential decree, we do resolutions all the time. And so if it is an organization that we have done a resolution for, than allowing a flag to be flown during either that whole or a period of time when that proclamation is good for. So whether it's a month, a day, a week, I believe it's a 30-day maximum is what our current ordinance is. So, up to 30 days, that might, I don't know if that helps this body at all. One of the
problem-
other,
I'm sorry. The problem I would see with that is there's not any kind of a policy about the proclamations.
Okay. One of the other things that, because we state that no flags supporting discrimination, prejudice, or religious movements are going to be flown. I've had people argue that some of the flags that we have flown are support discrimination or they're prejudicial. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just saying that that is some of the feedback that I have gotten from members of our community when we have chosen to fly a flag that is not state, US state and city. Another flag that is not prohibited by us is our political flags. And if it just takes 3 commissioners to put something on the calendar or on the agenda, and you've got a commission that is, you've got 5 members that are either very conservative or very liberal, and they want to espouse a particular political a person or a party or a platform. I have concerns about that being the ability to have a flag like that flown at some future. And I don't think that this commission would, but we're setting policy for into the future. So I would like to also see a prohibition on political flags.
So in that regard, people could easily argue that, well, the pride flag is a political position. But I think we could craft something that is tied to the definitions about campaign finance that I would achieve what you're looking for. And so I will also say, when you say this about, some say, well, this is discrimination, some don't. This Supreme Court case says when the government speaks for itself, so as long as you've done the steps of a policy and actually having a review of it, as opposed to just letting the clerk make sure the date's clear, when the government speaks for itself, the First Amendment does not demand airtime for all views.
I appreciate what you're saying for that, but it just has the potential. And Sherry, thanks for bringing up about the politics. I hadn't even thought about that aspect of it. And I can see it happening. And it just has the potential to be so contentious. Again, not any of what's been put in front of us thus far has been contentious. I can see it in the future potentially going in that direction. I just don't think the city's time or energy needs to be focused on that.
Commissioner Ballard?
I just wanted to highlight a few things. Joe, were you saying that you were like in agreement if the organizations are like 503Cs? Is that where you were tying that in, or?
No, I wasn't saying that at all.
Okay.
I was just saying, for instance, when Vice Mayor Sophia was saying prohibit political flag, political causes, that some people would argue, well, the pride flag is a political cause. Just to have a
Not
better
sure how that
definition, because
would-
there's definitions about in the campaign finance laws about when you have to do reporting about donations and that kind of thing about for a candidate, or that would be helpful. if that's what the desire was, to come up with language from there.
Okay, all right. Two other things. One is I don't believe that the pride flag is political. We have Republicans and we have Democrats and we have liberals. All of us are here, so it's not a political statement. Two, about maybe moving the flag to an area over here. To be honest with you, that's like telling me, Roger, you don't belong with us over here. We're going to put you over here in the park and let you be by yourself. We don't really honor you. We don't support you or include you into the community. I think if you're going to put up another flagpole, then put it up with the flagpoles that you already have and show that you, as a community, include everyone in the community. We, as the Pride group that I belong to, were ecstatic over the Pan American flag. We would wish more people in our community to raise their flag, to be honest and show people in our community, instead of just hiding behind the fact that, well, we really shouldn't have this because this group of people don't want us to have that. So that's where I'm coming from.
And if I could add in, if the desire of the commission was to put up a flagpole of somewhere else to display these, you still, my legal advice would be you still need a policy, because you're still going to face, the same challenges if you don't have a policy.
May I just chime in? And I just wanted to clarify, Commissioner Ballard, I hope it didn't come across like I want to bury these flags somewhere where no one will see them. I was sharing actually from 3 different individuals that suggestion. I'm not saying that's what I'm sold on, just throwing it out there for discussion. The one that was suggested by somebody on city staff was right there between the city hall and the church, a very prominent location. Actually, it's a larger American flag, I think, than flies out front of the building. And so that would be a very prominent location. So yeah, I'm not talking about hiding this somewhere in some far-flung park that no one would ever see. And again, just sharing some suggestions. I'm really open to hearing what everyone had to say. I'll go back to, if we continue, if we don't scrap this policy altogether, which again, I'm just sensing from commissioners, we're probably not going to move in that direction, just to make it more workable. And I liked some of the suggestions you had from some of the other cities that had some criteria and a formal process rather than an informal, a couple commissioners or a city manager decided it. Something a little bit more structured, a little more formal, and then would protect us a little bit more if something contentious came before us and we struck it down. That we're not going to expose ourselves to a lawsuit. I don't want Jill wasting her time having to go to court to defend this kind of stuff. City just doesn't have the time or the resources.
Okay, I hear you completely, Chris, and I believe what you're saying, but that seems contrary to the other advice sometimes the attorney gives, and we end up getting sued and ignoring what our attorney says as well.
All right, so I see, Commissioner Lance, did you have anything else you wanted to add right now?
Not now.
Okay, so I see we're closing in on close to an hour. Rebecca, you have the agenda in front of you. What is next on our agenda?
Yeah, that's great.
Do we need other meetings and times? So it was perfect timing for you to ask that question. So it is about, should we set another meeting date? I think, and so I'll.
Can we have staff send out a doodle poll
Certainly.
rather than everyone trying to look at their calendars now? Is
Yes.
Monday a good day for the 4 commissioners? Okay.
I just have a question on being new to this. I'm not exactly clear how this calendar from the city works with my private calendar, which I'm putting over there. But I thought I heard from Becca that when something goes on the city calendar, it automatically puts things up there. And this time I had a meeting at 1:30 that overcrossed with the 2 o'clock meeting, and that didn't happen. So I'm not clear exactly how that calendar thing works.
Well, we may be
I can
talking
talk
about,
to somebody later. That's
yeah,
fine.
we may be talking about two very different things, and we can help
Okay.
walk you through that, Commissioner Ballard.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Welcome.
So Commissioner Lance, did I get a thumbs up from you? Mondays tend to be okay? Okay, so Rebecca, if whomever will look at you and Jill and figure out what works and send out a doodle poll, that would be awesome. And then what comes after the next steps?
Sorry, just a second. Now I lost my,
So can I just chime in? I don't want to have meetings for meetings' sake. I mean,
No.
if we agree to disagree and walk away from this, but I would like to have a clear understanding of a kind of a consensus, like, okay, we agree on these points, and then this is going to be the next step for us, because I think we're just going to spin our wheels if we just come and have another discussion. I mean, today was helpful. I got some information. I got some different views, and thanks for sharing what you had said in the previous meeting, Commissioner Lance, who were there when this was originally crafted. So I appreciate that background. So I just like, okay, so our policy, our goal going forward is maybe we're going to tweak some of the language in the flag policy to make it more workable, or I guess I need to know what the goal is for the next meeting.
That is what I would envision, that Jill would kind of digest everything that we've said. There will probably be some tweaks that she might suggest based on the conversations. I want her to have time to kind of digest everything that was said today, to maybe go back. I think Commissioner Lance had a question about maybe some court cases. Give her the opportunity to actually review them, not while she's trying to address other questions, and just kind of provide a thoughtful potential way forward. Is that?
I think that's reasonable. Yes.
Yes, I had intended to look for that, look for some court cases, as Commissioner Lance suggested. Are you asking that I do some proposed draft revisions along the lines of what you were suggesting, Vice Mayor Sophia? So I'm not clear about that.
So Commissioner Simmons, I don't know that there is unanimity among the four of us, and that's okay too. And maybe you, rather than actually giving specific, I'm going to change this word to this, and I'm going to change that. Maybe we talk conceptually. Our next meeting will be concepts, like, okay, can we all get behind this concept? If we tweak this, are we good with that? And then you can work on language from there, which may or may not require another meeting of this committee.
That seems perfectly reasonable. And then one of the things I want to stress again, and I don't want to belabor it, is that I think there does have to be a more formal mechanism for entities that want to submit this than the process we have right now, which seems very casual. And I don't want that to get us in trouble. So that's one of the things I would like, if we all agree on that, maybe we need to have some more formality to the process. We can explore that a little bit more.
My recommendation would be to not change it, to allow people to apply. You commissioners all come up with your ideas, usually constituent driven. And so the idea is it something that piques your interest and that you think is in line with the policy? If not, you just don't take any action. I think, as Rebecca mentioned, the mayor was aware of that sanctity of life request. And I think I assume he agreed with Rebecca that it was religious in nature and it didn't fit the policy. You know, there's probably many other commissioners that, I shouldn't say many, some other commissioners that maybe have had somebody put a bug in their ear about something. I mean, that's kind of the way things work, just in general, with when you don't bring something before the commission, an ordinance change or a resolution or anything like that. You rarely would unless a constituent has raised the subject to you. But as soon as you open it up to an application process, that's what concerns me.
How do we handle, do you remember, and I know we're running up against the clock, but don't we have like some kind of street painting process? I remember the pride flag going on the street and then some other ones and
Well, well, first of all, that wasn't a flag, but the difference with that is.
it was a rainbow. It was the rainbow crosswalk. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is, the reason why we had to have an application is because you have to have a right-of-way permit to do something in those particular areas. So that was really defined by another process or another requirement because it was on a street, a public street. And I know we're running out of time, but we do need to have public comment. Vice Mayor, that was just the last item. I just don't want to forget that component because we are still live.
Okay. And then, so Eric, is there anyone wishing to make public comment?
We have no one joined for public comment, Vice Mayor.
Okay, very good. Thank you. It is 2:59 according to my clock. So if there is no objection, I will adjourn this meeting. And I appreciate you all taking the time to participate and to weigh in on this. And I look forward to what